is finally official. This year's NBA Finals matchup is going to be the Indiana Pacers against the OKC Thunder. And man, I'm already seeing the tweets on my timeline from big market fans talking about how this Finals matchup is terrible and nobody is going to watch this. But I've already made enough videos talking about that kind of conversation when it comes to the ratings and things like that. This video is all about my, I guess, matchup predictions, or how I think this series is going to go. Because on one hand, you have one of the most dominant teams in the NBA. You know, the regular season record speaks for themselves. The statistics when it comes to their offense and their defense is just outstanding. They have been one of the best up-and-coming rising teams in the league. And then on the other side of things, over in the Eastern Conference, you have probably the biggest underdog we've seen since like the Miami Heat Denver Nuggets finals, with the Indiana Pacers and their team always being downplayed or no one really giving them the credit they deserve. There's obviously the entire Tyrese Halliburton overrated conversations. This has made for a truly generational NBA Finals matchup if you actually like basketball. I saw some stats somewhere about like how we're gonna watch, I think it's the #1 offense in the OKC Thunder against the #1 defense in the Indiana Pacers. It's either that or something vice versa. I don't know. I haven't actually looked at the numbers myself. I just read that somewhere, so you know, don't get mad at me if I'm wrong. And before I actually dive really deep into this playoff matchup and I guess my predictions on how I think it's going to go, I really do feel like I should give you guys some context as to why I think this is going to be a generational finals matchup, because it's not only about how both these teams are so good statistically and how far they've come, but man, it is also about the storylines. One of my favorite things when it comes to the NBA is just the different kind of outcomes and things and, you know, stories that we could talk about later on down the line, and this finals is easily going to be one of those things. I've made video after video talking about the parity in the NBA, about how we are getting different champions every single year and how it's currently harder than it's ever been before to, you know, go back to back on a championship or even three-peat, whatever it is. But you look at this OKC Thunder team, and I know we haven't watched a single NBA Finals game yet. I don't know how this is going to go. This video could age poorly, but this Thunder team just checks off every single box. And every time I say that this team is going to be the next dynasty in the NBA and they might be the team to go back to back, everyone says there is no way. And I know that there's conversations about the second apron or whatever it is, about how they can't pay all their young talent. I'm not too tapped into that, so I can't really speak about it. But when it comes to like just looking at this team from a, you know, non-biased, non-fan perspective, they have everything you need. Their entire team is young as hell, which by the way, I don't know why I feel like clarifying this, but SGA is like 26 years old. Not saying that that's old by any means, but I do feel like people still talk about him like he's 23 or, you know, even like 22, like Ant's age. No, the guy is 26 years old, but either way, their core, you know, Chet, J-Dub, SGA is still young. Everyone else around them is young. They all have room to develop and grow. And not even to mention that, but they have the draft capital and the picks to not only build more around that team, but to bring in young talent. So their situation coming into this NBA Finals is like, hey, this is going to be our first NBA championship of many. We are here to battle it out every single year. The conversation surrounding them in general was that they're not old enough. They don't have enough experience, right? They're too young. They're not mature enough to be in an NBA Finals or win a championship, which by the way, I always thought was absolutely ridiculous. And they are proving that that doesn't matter, or maybe that they are ready to finally win that championship. So that's kind of the position that they come in as. But then there's the Indiana Pacers, who, like I said, are the underdogs in this situation. Tyrese Halliburton, like I just got done saying, was voted as the most overrated player in the NBA, which by the way, they make it sound like the entire league voted on that poll. That was only like 14 NBA players, so it was probably like only the Milwaukee Bucks roster that said he was the most overrated. But anyways, it's been a great marketing campaign, so props to them. You also have Pascal Siakam, a guy who I feel like was very forgotten about when it comes to the NBA. People don't really talk about how the Indiana Pacers got him. If I'm not mistaken, I should remember this situation pretty clearly, because I know the Kings were one of the teams that wanted to get in on the Pascal Siakam sweepstakes. But it was a situation where when he was in Toronto, he said, hey, do not trade for me because I want to be a free agent. I want to go around and explore, you know, see what team I want to fit on and what I want to play for, whatever. And the Indiana Pacers said, oh, hell no. We are bringing you in. You're a great talent and you're going to like it here. And well, shit. It's worked so far, right? Back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. So they're coming in as this team that is, like I said, the underdog. They want to prove everybody wrong, especially against the OKC Thunder, who are kind of like the Goliath, even though they haven't even won a championship. The story here is incredible, and I only feel, you know, compelled to tell you guys that or go over that because of those people who say that nobody's going to watch the finals or this finals matchup is going to be boring. No, it is going to be pure basketball, pure hoops, amazing stuff to watch. So be sure you tap in. win. But when it comes to my actual predictions for this series or how I think it's going to go, I do think it's going to be great basketball. I'm hoping that they're going to be close games, that we're going to see some good legendary moments, some, iconic situations and plays and, shots that stick with us forever. The only problem is I can't help but shake this feeling that the OKC Thunder are going to dominate. And I say that being a guy who was cheering for the Indiana Pacers in this series. I'm a Sacramento Kings fan. I love Tyrese Halliburton. That's just what it is. I would love to see him win a championship, even though it's not for my team. So my heart is telling me that Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers have a chance at winning this series, but my mind is telling me that the OKC Thunder are simply way too stacked and there is no way they can lose this finals. And a lot of the reason why I think the Thunder are going to dominate so hard is because of what we saw in this Pacers and Knicks matchup. The New York Knicks defense is just bad, and that's not anything against, maybe Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby. They do their thing on defense. You also have like DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet. Not saying that they're crazy defensive guys, but they were a pretty big boost for the New York Knicks bench. But when comparing that defense to what the OKC Thunder have, all I could do is laugh. Like, literally all I could do is laugh at that shit. It is ridiculous how different this defense is, and you look at this series and go, damn, the Indiana Pacers let them almost come back into this one. There were times where the Pacers offense was kind of struggling. Obviously in game 6, it was not at all, right? Game 6, in my opinion, was the most dominant that we've seen the Pacers be when it comes to their pace and their transition game. I saw this one tweet. Let me try to pull it up. This series, the Pacers were plus 79 in points off of turnovers and plus 80 in transition points compared to New York. And in that game 6, they had 46 points in transition, which is something that I feel like you can get away with when going up against the New York Knicks, who, not only get played to death, but also are a bit older, whatever. If you think that the Indiana Pacers are going to get that same amount of transition points against the OKC Thunder, I got bad news for you, because I don't think that's possible. And that's a key point of the Indiana Pacers offense. Now, obviously, if you're a Pacers fan, you hope that your defense is going to be good enough to kind of lead you to offense. Like I've been kind of saying, we saw that a lot in this Knicks game 7, where their defense and the turnovers that they would force would lead to easy buckets, easy points, and could maybe get you a big boost when you need it most. But then you look at the OKC Thunder and say, well, shit, they're the #1 offense. So who's going to say that they're going to even, care that you give up a turnover and the Pacers go over and score a quick layup when you can quickly turn it right back around and J-Dub knocks a 3 in your face? So then you also have to look at the perimeter defenders. You have, Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, Wallace, and J-Dub. So many people that on the perimeter is going to be able to defend you and guard. Then you have Chet and Ihart, who are just going to be sitting in the paint, being able to grab those rebounds, clean the glass, something that the Pacers really struggled with when going up against, Mitchell Robinson. So thinking about that kind of being doubled is very interesting. So yeah, I don't know if maybe this was in depth enough, or, if I dove really deep into this. I'm recording this video literally right after the Pacers got done beating the Knicks and advancing. So maybe I'll post another video when I'm getting closer to the NBA Finals after really going over some film or reviewing some things, whatever that may be. But as for right now, like I said, it's very raw and fresh that we're seeing this finals matchup, so I'm just happy. Like, I have no stakes in either one of these teams, and there's no team that I'm necessarily hating on in this finals matchup. And so it just feels good to see two teams that play amazing basketball, fun basketball. If you're an SGA hater or whatever, I don't care. Shut up. It's amazing to see these two teams in the NBA Finals. The two teams that deserve it the most. They fought hard. They went through hard series, hard battles, hard matchups, whatever it may be. And yeah, I'm just excited. So be sure to leave all of your guys' opinions, whether it's about the NBA Finals matchup or certain things you want to say about the Pacers or OKC Thunder. Drop all of that down in the comments below. I read and respond to everybody. And while you're down there, if you want to hit the like and subscribe button, that would help out the channel a ton. And yeah, it's really about to be NBA Finals basketball coming soon. If I do end up making like any videos during the finals, you might notice that I'm in New York. So don't mind that. But yeah, I'll see you guys all in the next one. Later.